This is weird. You know, there's very few times I read an article and I say, wait, what? And then I read the article and I'm like, what? So the Ottawa Senators, and there's a lot of talk about it during the playoffs, and we might as well bring it up again. The Senators weren't selling out in the playoffs. And Ottawa fans talked about ticket prices, and they talked about a lot of reasons why they weren't selling. Well, the Ottawa Senators have found a solution. They're taking 1,500 seats out of the stadium, and they're making sure it's the cheapest seats in the stadium. Because as they say, those are the ones that weren't selling. I don't know how ticket prices are between Ottawa and Vancouver, but I can say the cheap seats, that's usually where I'm going to be sitting, because you still get a good view, and you get cheap tickets. It's weird to pull 1,500 seats out of the stadium. Now, they raise a good point. In terms of actual numbers, they were outdrawing other teams, but because there were empty seats, there was talk about how there wasn't really a team atmosphere. And of course, in 2021, they're supposed to move into their new arena, and everything should be hunky-dory. But this is weird. You pull seats out, and here's the thing. So it says, one thing the club is sure about is the new arena will have a smaller seating capacity than Canadian Tire Centre, maybe in the range of 16,500. So it aligns better with the size of the marketplace. What they're telling you is, tickets are going to be expensive, boys and girls. And it's... I understand. Like, I look at the really big cavernous arenas and stadiums that were getting built years back, and they're obvious. They're too big. The idea was get as many butts into the seats as possible, make these stadiums and arenas as big as possible, and profit. And it really hasn't worked. Part of having a cavernous arena is it makes it harder to have an atmosphere to a game. Because the sound just doesn't have a chance to build. If you look back in Buffalo at the Odd, and Buffalo fans are going to be kind of... Buffalo fans are old enough to remember, like, oh, you had to mention the Odd. The Odd wasn't a big arena. And man, it was loud. The Odd was very loud. The Boston Garden wasn't very big either. And it was loud. Now, having been to Vancouver Canuck games last season, music is way too loud. And I don't say that as an old man. I say that as a person with eardrums. But the mood of the arena is not what it was in the Pacific Coliseum. I think sometimes there's so much focus on the loud music and the lights and the lasers that the actual mood of the arena, And maybe that's a change with the times. Maybe people need those lasers and the fancy light shows and all that to be interested in what's going on at a hockey game. I'm crazy. I go to watch hockey when that giant screen is projecting the image, and it would be really easy to just sit and look at that. I instead tilt my head down and look at the ice and watch the players, because you're going to miss stuff. You're going to miss a lot of stuff. I can say just from the 2 Canuck games that I watched at Rogers last year, I would have missed a lot of stuff on TV watching those games that I saw live. And it was fun. It was fun seeing the stuff that happens that you don't see on camera. And it just seems like sometimes the NHL wants to make it louder and more electric, and it's hockey. Hockey just is a game that should be able to sell itself. So let's go back to the Sens. When the Sens weren't selling out, I don't remember any Ottawa fans on this channel saying, well, they're the nosebleeds that don't sell. Well, yeah, but they're the cheap seats. The argument was the arena's in a bad spot. Tickets are too expensive. I heard that one too. I heard a number of comments being made. I never heard anybody suggest, well, they should just pull those seats out. And it's really weird, too, because here they are coming off of a really, really successful playoff run, and they're pulling seats out of the arena. Because they say if you have the perception of a sellout, supply and demand is going to be through the roof. Do I have to point at Toronto and the fact they've sold out for years? And I know people are going to say, well, it's a bigger marketplace. Yes. But does this mean that we have to start revisiting which marketplaces are really able to support a Stanley Cup contender? Which franchises are really able to spend towards and at the cap? Because if you're in a market that can't attract the kind of revenues that another market does, at what point do you start talking about that marketplace the same as we've talked about Arizona or Carolina for years? And it's definitely a Canadian thing. We can just casually say, oh, yeah, move the Hurricanes. Move Florida. Nobody cheers for Florida. Yeah, nobody cheers for the Hurricanes. It's fine. Just move them. Move them to Quebec. Move them to Seattle. Move them to Milwaukee. Move them to Kansas City. Like, it's just magically going to be great there. Like, all of those cities are magically going to support teams really, really well. It's a weird way of looking at it. So I'd be interested to know what you guys think. Pulling 1,500 seats out of an arena, that's a lot. I don't care if they're nosebleeds or not. Let's say they're $10 each. $10 each, that's $15,000 a game. That's $600,000 a year. So when they pull those seats out, who's going to make up for that loss in revenue? The fans who are buying the rest of the seats. So they're basically saying we're going to have to raise the price of the rest of the tickets to make up for those seats. They're not going to say that publicly, but that's where it'll end up going. It's just weird. It's really, really weird. And I want you guys to tell me if it's as weird as I think it is. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through, and thank you so much for watching. I'll talk to you again soon.